gentlemen, this is The Herd. Wherever you may be and however you may be making this part of your day, thanks so much. I'm Doug Gottlieb filling in for Colin Cowherd. You're live from Los Angeles on the iHeartRadio app, Fox Sports Radio, and, of course, you're televised on Fox Sports 1. What a story we have to get to here in the third hour of The Herd. Everyone's reacting to the David Griffin piece in Sports Illustrated, in which he had some interesting things to say. Yes, I would say interesting things to say. I think the money quote is that it wasn't fun, right? It wasn't fun. That here you are, you're in the middle of winning a championship for your city. And LeBron James and doing it with LeBron James, and David Griffin, his former general manager, said, quote, "Everything we did was so inorganic and unsustainable and frankly not fun. I was miserable. Literally, the moment we won the championship, I knew I was going to leave. There was no way I was going to stay around for any amount of money." Now, what should be noted is, in this piece, some of the sentiment was sentiment that David Griffin basically echoed of his own, going back to the Woj pod, Adrian Wojnarowski, earlier this month.
It wasn't a process that you would ever hope to replicate because the circumstances couldn't ever exist again in the way they did. Again, LeBron's on one-year deals. He's come from a championship environment. Our players had, to that point, been in the lottery several years in a row. And we had not organically learned to play for each other. Our guys were told, you've never been good enough. Here's LeBron, be good enough now. That's what the outside world said to them. That's a horrific way to raise young players in the NBA.
So that's part of the context that David Griffin wants us to be sold on. Like, look, this is not a great way to raise a young team. In fairness, though Kyrie Irving stuck, they went and got Kevin Love, who hadn't been part of a successful team, and he was part of the kind of culture change. And slowly but surely, they added some other pieces like J.R. Smith, who was barely in the league, and LeBron made it work. This is funny. Like, I remember, like, people are going to be critical of David Griffin for pointing out that it's not fun to play with LeBron, right? That he's getting all the credit. And I remember Chris Bosh, who won 2 championships with LeBron James in Miami. When Kevin Love was traded, before Kevin Love's first season, he said this, quote, "It's going to be very difficult for him. Even if I was in his corner and I was able to tell him what to expect and what to do, it still doesn't make any difference. It's extremely difficult and extremely frustrated. He's going to have to deal with it." Pat Riley, when LeBron got there, they talked about the LeBron effect and how LeBron challenged him, and even when LeBron left, Pat Riley sent him a text: "Win this and be free." And what else is David Griffin being criticized for? The fact that he said after winning a championship in Cleveland, after that incredible come-from-behind victory, Game 7 on the road, being down 3-1 to the Golden State Warriors, he didn't have the same, it wasn't the same animal when it came to winning. It's funny because, do you guys remember what LeBron James said in 2017? They're in Boston to shoot around. He said, It's nothing I need to get in this league I don't already have. So everything else to me is icing on the cake. Even though I love the process, everything I go to be able to compete every single night, put teams in position to compete for championships, there's nothing I'm chasing or feel I need on the end of my career. LeBron said he's not the same guy. He said he's climbed the mountain and he's seen the top and he still enjoys the process, but he's nothing he's chasing. But when David Griffin says there's nothing he's chasing, that he's not the same animal, David Griffin's the bad guy. When Chris Bosh says, hey, it's not going to be that much fun to deal with, he's the bad guy. How about this? You guys remember what Kevin Durant said earlier this year? Why he wasn't into playing with LeBron James? So much hype comes from being around LeBron, from either people. He has so many fanboys in the media. It's not even about basketball at certain points. So I get anyone wouldn't want to be a part of that environment because it's toxic. It's not LeBron's fault at all. It's just the fact that you have so many groupies in the media that love to hang on every word. It's the media. It's the fans. It's the pressure. David Griffin said it was an unsustainable culture. What is the culture? What do they talk about? Remember, LeBron's last season there, he didn't practice. Didn't practice. How would you like to be the general manager and you don't really get to pick your own coach? You don't really get to pick the players. You don't even necessarily have power in negotiation with the contract because in order to try and keep LeBron James happy, you have to deal with his close friend who's his agent who represents other guys on the team. And then you have to overpay those guys in a Tristan Thompson and a J.R. Smith. And then you have to explain it to your owner who doesn't get along with the player, why the owner is paying the most luxury tax in the NBA. Does that sound like a good time? Well, you know what it is? It's just Cleveland. It was only not fun because it was Cleveland. Clearly, Magic Johnson, when he left the Lakers this year, had a great time managing LeBron James and his teammates.
I was happier when I wasn't the president. I like to be free. And then I got a great life. I was like, damn, I got a great life outside of this. What am I doing? You know, I got a beautiful life. I want to do the things I used to do. So I had to weigh both situations, and so this is better for me.
Here's a quote from Griffin. LeBron is getting all the credit and none of the blame. He said of the challenge of playing with and playing for LeBron James, they don't like being a part of that world. Who got the credit and who got the blame for not pulling off the Anthony Davis deal last year? LeBron? Rich Paul maybe a little bit, which is an extension of LeBron. The team's chemistry was awful. Who got the blame? LeBron or did Luke Walton? Or the players? How many times Josh Hart's too in his feelings? Brandon Ingram, Lonzo Ball, LeVar Ball. If you're the best player, that's who your team is. And when LeBron James is playing against the Indiana Pacers and the house is on fire and you're like, nah, it's just getting a little warm in here. There's 3 seats in between you and the rest of the team. Don't give me this is the chair I always sit in. Not tonight. Not tonight. He didn't lead. He didn't build great chemistry. They didn't have great character. They didn't have a good culture with the Lakers. And frankly, the culture with the Cavs clearly sucked. Otherwise, David Griffin would have had a much better time, would have enjoyed himself more. Look, this is part of the lasting legacy of LeBron. It doesn't take away from how great he is as a player. But it shows how difficult he can be. And in all candor, there's lots of stars across the board that are very difficult. Right? From Hollywood types only wanting to be shot from certain angles, right? To not want to work with other people in my industry. I won't work with him. I won't work with her. I only do a one-person show. I only do a two-person show. I've worked with people who they want to make sure they say the last thing on every segment. Really? That's important? Yes. And sometimes when you're good enough at what you do, you get carte blanche to do that, to say that. But the problem with LeBron is this is how he's been since he was put into the league. He's never been told no, with the exception really of Pat Riley, who wouldn't fire Eric Spoelstra when LeBron, in his own LeBron way, hinted at it. And that was where LeBron had his most success. And David Griffin, if you actually read the context of it, points to the fact that he had open and honest conversation with LeBron James, but led you to believe others did not. Here's Lakers reporter Dave McMenamin on LeBron's camp responding to this story.
I checked in with people in LeBron's camp. They're shocked that this would come out in this fashion because the understanding was that David Griffin and LeBron have maintained a very positive relationship in the years since Griff parted ways with Cleveland. My understanding, David Griffin has reached out to LeBron's camp and offered up the thought that, hey, there's some context missing in the piece. And LeBron's camp response is, if there's more context, go on the record and explain it. Because right now, we don't understand where this is coming from.
It's coming from the heart. Because otherwise, what's the win for David Griffin? In saying that he was miserable and crying when they won a championship, knowing that he would never return. No matter how much money, think about that for a second. No matter how much money he was offered. And of course, people always say that. I won't do it no matter how much money. But he did say, no matter how much money he was offered, he would not return. To work with one of the great players of all time, arguably the greatest player of our generation, or of this most recent generation, inarguably the most consistently successful of the last decade. And he wanted nothing to do with the LeBron circus. And Kevin Durant wanted nothing to do with the LeBron circus. And Paul George last year wanted nothing to do with the LeBron circus. And Magic Johnson, and look, do I think that LeBron's the only reason? No, but he wanted to have fun again. LeBron's a lot of things. Fun to work with ain't one of them. Culture building ain't one of them. And he has this way about him in which he's completely selfish in an unselfish way. Right? That's how he plays. Like, yes, he loves, and he said, I love the feeling of passing to somebody and them making the game-winning shot. But he wants to make that pass. Just like he wants to create careers for all of his friends where they didn't previously exist. He wants to be the reason that Kevin Love and Tristan Thompson and J.R. Smith and Kyle Kuzma and everybody, they get new contracts. He wants to be the king, and he wants to knight other people. And as long as you can accept that when things go wrong, it is going to be your fault. As long as you can understand that you're not going to ever get a clear message from him. Even the tweet he sent out yesterday. I have no idea what this means. I would think it's not good. All right. Enough is enough. The throne has been played with too much. And I ain't for horseplay. Ether coming soon. Smiling emoji. A bunch of fire emojis. A crown emoji. Hashtag James Gang. Fist emoji. Well, I don't even know what that means. But that's part of working with LeBron James. He's never going to tell you what he really means. You got to try and read him. And you know what that is like for a general manager or a president of basketball? It's not fun. I don't get to hire who I want as a coach without hearing it from you. We don't necessarily get the players that we want. We try and got to work them around you. There is no style. It's get the ball to LeBron James and get out of the way. And when things go wrong, it's everybody else's fault. Don't believe me? Who's left in L.A. from last year? Oh, he didn't have to do any of this. Could have simply talked about the pressure he put on himself, but that's not what he said. LeBron James, a lot of things. Fun to work with? Not one of them. 13-time Pro Bowler LeVar Arrington will join us. I'll get his thoughts on how the Cowboys should handle Zeke and if any team would trade for Melvin Gordon. What did I say?
You said 13.
13 time?
That would be impressive.
It felt like 13
because he only played
time.
in the league for 7 years.
At the 13 time, you know what? 13. He's much bigger and stronger and better looking than me, so I'm going to call him a 13-time Pro Bowler. LeVar Arrington next in the Herd.